All right, beautiful people, welcome to what we're going to call episode 40. Hey, 40. Let's go of the Athletic Philosopher Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Goldstein, former university professor in sport history, sport philosophy, psychology, sociology, wrote a book about sports, taught a whole bunch of kids about sports. Apparently that wasn't good, so I'm here outside of the academy now doing all things life coaching, fitness coaching, entwined, endurance training coaching as the tribal professor, and here talking to you beautiful people, spreading the beautiful and deep wisdom that sports provide us if you understand just a little bit about their nature and how to aim there directly with the open heart. And that's what I'm going to talk to you directly about today with an experience of mine that has been, oh my goodness, something like 3 years in the making. Yes, today is the day where I'm going to spill the beans on the fasted, no water, no fuel, half trail, half road marathon that I took down, oh my gosh, 10 days ago. Let me get the date correct here. Was a historian at one point, and this is kind of for posterity, and it's a little bit of an oral history. So let me make sure I get my days correct. Yes, we've got May the 12th. Oh my goodness, so that was actually like 2 weeks ago. May the 12th. May the 12th is when this whole thing went down. May the 12th, 2025. So we got a little bit of breathing space in between, me doing this effort and sharing some wisdom and some tips and advice that I've gleaned through reflecting on taking down 26.2 miles without water or food and going into it with basically just 0 calories inside of my body. So rather than just sort of spin this one all the way out, I've got, again, a little bit of a structure here. I've got some notes and I've got an order that I want to talk about these things. And hey, as a former historian, the narrative is everything. The narrative is power. And so I'm going to spin this big time story about me wanting to take down this challenge, how it came about, a couple of times I tried it before, what was different this time, where I got the inspiration, and then how I pulled it off. Now, I did want to record this podcast the week of, but it was a busy time. I finished this on Monday. I had to leave for 5 days on the Thursday to go down to Chattanooga in Tennessee, where I was coaching Team Tribal and our 19 athletes who took on the 70.3 down there. Episode 39 is my longest episode ever, the one that preceded this one. And it's all about the race recap. So we got lots of information about the race recap. I also had an interview in between here with Barefoot Ken, which was actually kind of on this topic, but it wasn't me describing the experience. It was sort of Ken and I generally discussing compromise training and why it's a source of spiritual strength for the two of us to train in some non-standard ways, I guess you could say. But this works out even better because now I get to do episode 40. And, 40 is a very intriguing number when it comes to spirituality and endurance. And I was just reading in my scripture, my Torah, on the weekend about Moses and him needing to spend 40 days and 40 nights up on the top of Mount Sinai in order to receive the truth, God's law, and basically to then understand it and bring it back to the people. So, episode 40, running a trail marathon, half road marathon without food or water. It kind of feels like coming back down from the mountain in a sense of going up there alone, being a little bit afraid of the truth that's up there for you, and then finding the courage to stay up there and see it through. All right. So what's interesting to note about where I was reading in the Exodus story on the weekend was that this is the second time Moses had to go up, right? He he comes down. He's got the 2 tablets. What does he see? Actually, God tells him to go fast. God's like, I kind of got to stop what we're doing right here because the people are losing their minds. And he sends Moses on down, and the people have indeed kind of lost their minds, right? They're all dancing and worshiping this golden calf that they've asked Aaron to fashion out of all the gold that they brought to him to melt down and create this new god. And so Moses, in his sort of righteous indignation and frustration, he smashes the tablets. And then after he sort of deals with those people, he's got to go back up. And so he's got to sit for 40 days and 40 nights. And the number 40 has a lot of significance when it comes to endurance, sort of in the biblical world. And how perfect is that I get to talk about my biggest moment of conquering in terms of the self and also in terms of an external challenge comes at episode 40. So it's perfect. It's perfect. Okay, so rundown. We're going to do original inspiration and attempts on this. I'm going to reveal a little bit about where my motivation and inspiration came from to take down this particular challenge, which I've called the Pirate King of the Suburbs Marathon. So I'll say a little word on that. I'll get into how I trained for this, how I approach training, and the things that I'm looking to extract out of a training block when going for a challenge like this. Then I'll talk about the actual marathon, what I did, how I executed some of the moments throughout the entire effort that stick out to me. And then I will wrap it up with a gigantic call to action for everybody who's listening about dreaming big, imagining something that's a little bit crazy, and then going hard and caring about what you're doing. So that's what we're after today, team. That's exactly what we are after today. All right. The first question is obviously why. Like, why even put it into your brain that you should run a marathon without taking any food or water throughout the entirety of that marathon? And as a little kicker, going into it in a fasted state where you haven't eaten any food or ingested any calories for at least a minimum of 12 hours, right? So that's the challenge that was in front of me. Why do this? Well, we got to go a few years back. This is right in the middle of crazy pandemic time. I am watching a whole bunch of my newfound American brothers who have really lifted me up as I'm struggling, suffering, and effectively being oppressed up in Canada because of my decision to decide what goes into my body in terms of medical products. Gosh, it's wild how we have to keep talking about this thing, but that's just reality. And that's where we were. So I am sitting in my home in Canada. I can't leave the country. I can barely even go to most of the places in my neighborhood. And I've got all these guys in the United States taking on this monster challenge, right? These are strength athletes. These are power lifters. These are weightlifting dudes, okay? And I've formed a great community with them. They've really helped me fight through some of the difficulties that I had in Canada, right? I joined an online men's group in the fall of 2021, right when the vaccine mandates came in. And this was sort of like a year after just going insane with the lockdowns. And I was struggling. And a lot of these strength guys, they took a chance on, here we go, tribal training coach and founder Ryan Dreyer to train him up for the Ironman in Florida, like the big one, the big Ironman. So you got guys who have never really run or swam or biked, and all of a sudden they're doing the largest, longest, most intimidating endurance event, one-day endurance event in the world. And I badly wanted a part of this. I wanted a piece of it. I wanted a taste. I wanted a touch. I wanted something like this. But I couldn't even register for races in Canada. I couldn't sign up for a road race. I couldn't sign up for an Ironman. I couldn't sign up for a trail ultra. I was banned from all these formal competitions. So I'm thinking, gosh, I really want to challenge myself with like a big effort, right? That's stretching that's demanding, because I'm inspired by these guys who have effectively become like my family and my brothers. Most of my friends tossed me in the trash up in Canada, so I had nobody. And these guys, I felt like, really understood me, and they really got me, and I wanted to go and do something with them, but I couldn't. So I was starting to think in my stomach, man, I kind of have to do something for myself. Like, I kind of have to create some sort of a monster challenge. I have to find the discipline and the conviction to hold myself accountable to it. And then I have to go out and try to execute it. And some of the guys, the names that I'm talking about, I've had on the podcast: Mike Donatelli, my brother Dylan Spina, and of course Zach Hummel, who's my coach, and the guy who's created the men's group that, well, I'm just gonna say, basically saved my life. And there was another mutual on social media who was kind of running in our circles around that time. His name was Boyd Myers, and Boyd is a really intriguing character all on his own. Weightlifter, powerlifter extraordinaire. He's done Ironman. He was in the same SEALs training class, I'm pretty sure, as Goggins. So this is a guy. He's a real guy, and he's kind of a maniac in a good way. We love you, Boyd. But I just saw him. He was training for back-to-back Ironman. So he was going to run the, I believe it was like the full Ironman. No, he was going to run the Ironman 70.3 on like the Saturday down in Texas, and then he was going to run the full Ironman. Either way, he was going to do like the half Ironman and the full Ironman back-to-back. But it was something like 3 weeks before these races, he just impromptu decided to run a 100-mile, and it's not a race, he just decided to run 100 miles in his neighborhood. Just suburban Texas, just running around the block. And I saw him complete this. I think it was something like 70 miles he did on a broken foot. Literally without a race, without a medal, without anything really on the line other than the fact that he said he was going to do it. And then, he kind of had to do it. And I thought, oh man, that's it. I got to do something like this. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So I've been running basically in a fasted state for, at this point, I'd been training, this is 2022. I'd been training to run in a fasted state probably since 2018. And I had been consistently exercising without taking food or effectively taking water for probably, when it comes to running, closer to 7-8 years. But I had been particularly interested in experimenting with fasted running. So, for example, I would wake up, early. This is still when I was a professor. So I'd have like 8:30 in the morning lectures. I'd wake up, I'd get some coffee, I would drive, I'd commute through the country roads to my campus, and I would not eat any food until I got back home. And sometimes that's like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And I have trails that are close to me. So I just started running trails in this fasted state after my day. So, it'd be like 2 o'clock, 2:30. I'd roll up to the trail. I wouldn't have eaten anything during the day. And then I'd go out. And I was experimenting with this style of running for a long time. And in 2022, right around the time that these guys are going for Ironman Florida, and Boyd Myers, runs a 100-miler in his backyard, I'm looking down at my stats, and my long run every Sunday, it's like 16-mile long run in the forest with 1,600 feet of elevation, not taking any water, not eating any food, and I'm feeling really good. So I started to think, what if I just extended that, regular long run into a 26.2 mile effort? And I did a whole trail marathon in this very technical, very hilly, beautiful provincial park that I run in every weekend. And I thought, yeah, that's it. I'm going to go do that. I started to put that idea out there on social media. I was ready to go. So this is around like October 2022. I had really aimed in on taking this guy down before the snow hit. But something happened. I was just in my home upstairs, and I stepped down on the floor. in between like going for the bath and getting a towel from my kids' room. And boom, a 1-inch sewing needle, which is somewhere around here. Definitely kept that little sucker. 1-inch sewing needle shot into my left foot, into my heel. It went in so violently and so quickly that it didn't even leave an exit wound. So I didn't even know that something kind of shot up in there, even though it felt like I had been shot with a pistol right underneath my foot. I kind of refused to believe reality for about 5 weeks, where I just kept running on this incredibly painful, swollen foot, thinking like I had a bone bruise and that me running on it was stimulating blood flow to my foot, which was healing me. And just delusional. I ran 60 miles in 5 weeks on this foot that had a 1-inch sewing needle lodged right into it. And it was just painfully clear that I wasn't about to run no 26.2 miles in one shot. I had to get the thing surgically taken out in December. And in 2023, I was just ready. I've been waiting. I can't be in a race. I'm kind of like a prisoner. Like, I got this needle in my foot. I just wanted to get this thing done. And I probably went out a little bit too soon. I set the date for early May that year. I had my brother Dylan Spina. He was living in Port Huron, and this was literally at the time where they opened up the border for Canadians and Americans, who didn't decide to vaccinate themselves with the COVID vaccine, which is not a vaccine. They had to change the name. They had to change the definition of vaccine in order to make it a vaccine. People probably forget that part of the whole equation. I don't. Anyways, right. So he's able to drive across the border, and he's coming to support me in the forest, right? Because I'm not about to go do this thing without some help and guidance, because, dehydration is real, and severe dehydration is not something you joke around with. This is the stuff that sends you right to the hospital. This can create permanent damage. You can die. Like, it's not a joke. When you're trying to push out the limits of the body. So, I got Dylan with me. He's a former Marine sergeant. Now he's a firefighter. He's doing his EMS training right now. You're just the biggest hero and such a champion, Dylan. Mazel tov, bro. You're the coolest. So he's with me. We make a plan. He's gonna meet me at mile 16. He's gonna bring me home for the final 10. I just hit the wall at mile 19. When I was running this thing, the moment I saw him, I knew I was screwed. I was just like, oh no, this is bad. Because, Dylan was sort of new to running, and my pacing was just so much more effective. I was just such a faster runner than he was, but I could barely keep up to his low, easy pace, and I was dying. So I hit mile 19, just boom, no more running. Dylan, he's like, you're fine. You can keep going. Don't worry. You're okay. Was able to help me gut out 4.5 more miles of walking. Mile 22 took me 45 minutes to make 1 mile. I spent most of that mile in the bushes, heaving. It was awful. But eventually I had to pull the plug after, 5.5 hours. I got to 23.5 miles. Dylan had a bottle of sport mix ready for me, and I drank that, and then we were able to sort of walk out of the forest together. Man, it felt like defeat. It just felt like defeat in a million different ways. And so we went back in in October. Dylan came back. I had 2 of my own coaching clients who also joined me. I had 2 Chris's. We got Chris Boyce, who's now a member of Tribal, and he remembers this one. This is the first time he ever met me in person, and it was mile 18 or mile 16 again is the first time I said, hey, what's up? And then basically I saw him again at mile 19, and he basically our introduction was me walking through the forest trying not to die. But he saved me from getting hit by a bus at one point, so thanks a lot, bro. I appreciate you. I improved. I was able to go 25 miles. I was able to get back to my car, but I couldn't summon the mental strength to we got to get out and finish the 26.2. So, I'd left it in 2023 kind of open-ended. I had gone 25 miles in just under 5 hours with 2,500 feet of climb, no food, no water. But I didn't get the 26.2, so it was always out there for me. 2024, I didn't even want to touch this. I sort of had an idea to touch this challenge, but then we were moving or not moving, changing jobs, not changing jobs. There was a lot of uncertainty. So I didn't really want to go after this challenge again last year. And I set my sights on the Prayer and Fire Backyard Ultra. I got 2 episodes on that. I think I got a race recap episode and I got a reflection one where it's like, shoot, I'm just weak. The race exposed my mental weakness. Man, never wanted to have that as a title of my podcast. But hey, we're here to extract the truth from our experiences. That's what we do here in terms of philosophy. So I got to model that. I can't hide. But it was always in the back of my mind, like, could I really just, if I didn't pick such a hard course, because I'm telling you guys, like, that is not a regular marathon that I picked. At one point in between mile 8 and mile 9, there's a 140-foot straight up a cliff using jagged switchbacks kind of style. And this is that's just one of the more difficult parts, right? There's lots of difficult parts. There's lots of scaling up and down cliffs, big time hills, like winding, tricky terrain. You're kind of isolated in the forest. So there's like a kind of a psychological aspect of like, I'm just in here and I'm kind of lost. There's a couple of not great parts of the trail too. There's like an old horse. It's like a kind of like an old horse track and it's all beat up and loose and really hard. So, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, if I just ran that on a road, if I ran that in like a relatively simple trail as opposed to like a moderate to really difficult trail, like could I do it? Could I get it done? Because I was convinced that I could make it an extra 1.2 miles, but I would have to change something up about what I did in that provincial park there. So it was always in the back of my mind, like, could you do this? And there was a part of me that knew I'd pick up the challenge at some point, right? So that brings me to the Pirate King of the Suburbs Marathon, right? So moving to the North Shore of Chicago is a big deal. It's a big deal for my family. We had been growing up. My kids had been growing up. I didn't grow up. My kids were growing up, and we were parenting them and living in a very small rural village about an hour northwest of Toronto. Like I'm talking, we're a one street kind of a village, a main street, and that's it. The biggest building is the hockey arena, followed by the grocery store. And they're right beside each other on Main Street, obviously. It's like 1,000-person village. Very small. And here now we're back in the suburbs. And not just in the suburbs, we're like boss mode. We're in like the final level of suburbs, right? It's like my suburbs are the king of your suburbs type of suburbs up here in the North Shore of Chicago. Lots of big homes, lots of big lots, lots of fancy cars, lots of very important people who make it known they're far more important than you. Far more important. It's like you just got to get out of the way, dude. Like that really important person in their really big expensive car going to their really big expensive house or going to see their kid at the really fancy prestigious high school or playing for that really prestigious travel team. Yeah, it's one of those places. So it's a very different energy. And rather than fearing myself, like losing a sense of who I was authentically or being, forced down into different kinds of values that you don't really get out in the country, I just looked at this whole opportunity as this is a chance for me to bring my energy, to bring my punk rock or my pirate attitude, that I'm not necessarily going to follow the rules. I'm not necessarily here to cause trouble, but you're going to see me around and you're going to know immediately that I'm just not fitting in like everybody else. And I'm doing that for a reason. And I'm doing that as an authentic display of my individuality, my character, and who I am, right? So I kind of dubbed myself a suburban pirate, and 2025 is a year of hoisting the black flag as a way to just simply proclaim that, yeah, I'm moving into a place where I don't necessarily see myself thriving, but I'm not going to allow the environment to dictate my energy, my attitude, and how I bring myself to challenges. And, the Pirate King, he just goes wherever he needs to go. Okay, like there's forests here. Great, I'm going to find them. I'm going to run them. There's roads. Okay, I'm going to run those too. There's beaches. Let's go Let's go get barefoot, right? I want people to see me out and about in the suburbs, and I want that energy to come through that I'm just living my own life. And it doesn't matter what you're doing or the expectation that you're going to place on me. I'm simply going to go hard, and I'm going to keep going hard after what I want and living the way that I want to live. So I'm like a pirate king. Now, the pirate king has to conquer. He's got to stake his claim, and he's got to effectively go out and say, this is all mine, guys. Like this is all mine. And it became pretty clear early on as I was, exploring my surroundings in January that, number one, this January is very cold. We're talking multiple days, 0 degrees Fahrenheit and colder, wind chills, not a lot of snow, but like incredible amounts of cold. And anytime you're out in the cold, running around, and there's nobody out there, you automatically feel like a pirate. You automatically feel like this guy who's not allowing like the normal strictures or the normal limitations to like determine anything about your agency and your willpower, right? And I started to notice that a lot of the places I was frequenting were not that far from my front door. Like there's a beautiful little 4-mile loop in a forest. It's about a 1.8 mile run from my front door. Go the other direction, it's another 4-mile loop. Again, it's about 2 miles. I've been really enjoying road running right on down to the beach. And I'm running through these like incredible suburbs with these mega $1 million mansions. And there's like this one little public beach access that, takes you right in between these mega mansions with their like yacht docking, with their yacht docks, pardon me, like literally right on the beach of Lake Michigan. And I've been running barefoot on the beach. I've been doing cold plunges, and I just got it in my brain really quickly in January, pardon me, that's like, okay, I know what I want to do. Okay, let's back up a little bit because I had a 100-mile race on the schedule for myself. It was supposed to be June 14th. It's the Kettle Moraine 100, just about 90 minutes north of me up in Wisconsin. It's a very famous race, apparently. I know it's a Western States qualifier, but I didn't know how popular this thing was, and I was planning on registering after we did our Team 50-miler at Elephant Mountain in Arizona earlier this year. And, we're all sitting around one of the nights, and, my teammate TA, who lives in Wisconsin, he overheard that, I was thinking of signing up for this race, and this was going to be kind of like my big spring challenge. I got Prairie on Fire again, the same backyard ultra in September. So like that's going to be the A race, but I wanted a big race. I wanted a big challenge in spring. And so I had this 100-miler identified. But when TA looks at me, he's like, I'm pretty sure that race is going to be sold out already. This was 3 weeks after it opened. So we went to the site, bam, sold out, have to wait list. I'm not in a position to wait list a 100-miler, guys. Like I had people flying in from Canada, from all across the United States who were going to crew me. I wanted my family to be there, but like I can't waitlist that. I can't say to all these different people, hey, guess what? Turns out I'm in the race in 5 days. Let's Operation 100-miler is on. It's just not gonna fly. So the 100-miler is out, and I needed something in the spring to like really aim for and to go hard at. So it all just sort of started to make sense. I was like, oh, you know what would be cool? I can absolutely try to take down as many miles as I can on trails, and then I can run in between. And if I do this from my front door, I bet you I could probably get a marathon. And if that's the case, well, shoot. Why don't I just do it fasted? Why don't I just do the no water, the no fuel? We'll take it down, and this will be kind of like my planting the black flag, boom, right in the middle of the North Shore suburbs. That I'm the pirate king, right? And I'm here to stay. So that's where this idea sort of came from, to do it in May and to do it in the way that I did it, where I literally left the front door of my house. I walked out, I hit start, boom. I didn't come back until 4 hours and 6 minutes later. Taking no water, taking no food, running west to take down about 6 miles on the trails, and then running east to take down a final 8 miles on the trail. So effectively, I had I know that's rough math, but effectively what it broke out to was 13.1 on the trails and 13.1 on the roads. Pirate King of the Suburbs Marathon. So being able to go from the road into the trails, out from the trails, back on the road, back into the trails, back out onto the road, go hit the lake, so get the sand too, and then come back. I wanted to hit as many natural areas as possible while running through the suburbs. Effectively saying, I see everybody running on the road. I ain't never see anybody running in the forest. Never. And I sure as hell don't see anybody running on the beach. I see lots of people running by the beach. I don't see anybody getting out running on the beach. So it was a way for me to say, all right, so I'm in the suburbs. I'll do a little bit of what you guys do in the suburbs, but I'm going to show you something else that you're not doing. So that's the Pirate King of the Suburbs Marathon. That's kind of where it came from. Now let me talk to you for a minute about how I trained, or how I go about training. Because it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to go do a 20-mile run, like without water and food, a couple weeks before you take this thing down? It's not a great idea. And I'm not a big believer in needing to simulate big amounts of the distance in training runs. I mean, my thought is, if you're going to simulate a big distance in training run, you might as well sign up for a race. Then you get a race rep and you get a training rep. Just going for long efforts on your own is, I don't think, the wisest play. So I never ran more than a half marathon. That's not true. I did one 15-miler, but it was kind of by accident. I never ran more than 2.5 hours. Let's put it that way. I never ran more than 2.5 hours in one training run. Okay? In order to take this down. So how do you train? Well, of course you got to be training. You got to be running. Like, I run all the time. One of the things that I did was I added in a new running day. So historically for me, 3 days a week, but I would suggest for the last, 6 months, I've been going 4 days a week. Okay. And I've been simply relying on variability. So trail running, road running, beach running. I've been running in all these different ways, and you go all the way back to the winter. There's snow and ice running too. So I'm comfortable running in all different terrains. I can run fast in those terrains. I can run slow in those terrains. So I would simply be maneuvering between like low and slow and pushing pace in all of the different variety of runs that I'd be doing, whether that be a 4-mile forest loop, a 7-mile road out and back to the lake, a half marathon solely on the trails with 1,000 feet of climb, sometimes going zone 2, sometimes pushing high into zone 3. So it's mostly about running. Obviously, running in varied terrain, in different terrain, and feeling comfortable pushing pace, dialing back pace, effectively knowing your body to an intimate level. When your challenge is to go out and run 26.2 miles without taking food or water, you got to know exactly what's going on when your body starts to feel something. You've got to be able to push through muscle cramps, niggles. You've got to be able to understand that sometimes lightheadedness will come, but it can also go. You've got to understand pacing over a long duration. You've got to understand something even like mental acuity and clarity, recognizing that the farther you go into any of these efforts, your decision-making ability shoots down and your excuse acceptance goes way up. So you've got to strategize. You got to strategize on how you're going to take this down, but most importantly, you got to train in ways that stretch you out, right? So the effective cornerstones of my training was strengthen your body, right? So cross training, weighted jump rope, lots of mace and club work with single leg isometrics. So getting a strong core. Why? Because I need to have good form. My body is not going to be, I'm not going to be able to insert energy into my body. I'm not just there's no food that's going in, guys. There's no food. There's not even water. So you have to have a durable body, which means you have to have good running form, which means you've got to be good in running in all different situations so that your body just knows how to hold itself up, how to maintain composure and stability in your form. Because once your form breaks down, that's when all things go, right? That's when the one little pain turns into 5 little pains that turn into one giant pain that turn into 5 giant pains. And then you just can't barely walk or move yourself forward, right? So being strong in core and legs and shoulders, very important in allowing yourself to maintain form. And I have a very good story about this that came in mile 23 of this attempt, right? But I've effectively been training to take this thing down for years and years and years. So for me, it's like the 4 months of dedicated training from sort of January to May when I recognized, hey, this is the challenge. This is what you're training for. It was volume. So stack volume, learn how to run on tired legs, love tired legs. Like, love going out when your body feels like it shouldn't, and forcing yourself to find the right form, the right pace, the right comfort. So for the final month, I to give you an example of how this kind of all comes together, I had found a really nice formula of running 4 days in a row. So it'd be Sunday, would be kind of like the start of the week. I'd go out and I'd do my trail half marathon. So 13.1 miles on the trails, early in the morning, no food, no water. I think I ran one of these in like 146 or 147. I burned one of them. But mostly I'm coming in around like 155, under 2 hours. So I would start out the week with a trail half marathon, about 1,000 feet of climb. My legs were not happy. Like, I'm a tired guy. Immediately, Monday, that's like fast run to the late day. So now it's not about like low and slow recovery. It's about, okay, get into your running. Get into like your running stride. Go quickly, right? This isn't a chance to compact the stride and to just like eat steps. It's no, we're pushing. So right after the trail half marathon, that's sort of putting durability and pacing into my body. I'm now forcing myself to go fast the next day. Right? So not only do I learn how to run on tired legs, I learn how to thrive on tired legs. I learn how to push pace. I learn how to keep getting stronger on tired legs. Next day, it's a 4-mile trail run. So now I'm able to ease off pace and I'm not pushing necessarily the cardiovascular element, but I'm back on the trails. So now I'm weaving in, I'm weaving out. I've got that dynamic variability in the steps. I've got to use my brain in order to navigate. There's something about these forest paths here. Like, they're not like people, they don't really go through the woods. So the forest paths, they're very small. They're like half, if there's single track, these are like half track. These are like half track trails, and the turns on them are so severe and so windy, you can't really get a lot of speed, consistent speed, right? So they're tricky, even though they're dead flat and they're generally in between like these giant roads. The paths themselves, dynamic and really tricky to run. So, a couple slower miles, but mostly just to remember, okay, like that the body can't just be solid state running on a road. Like, it's got to be able to respond to the dynamism of the trails. So that's the 3rd day in a row. And then 4th day, barefoot beach sprints. So literally driving to the beach, putting my bag down in the middle, I would run out 0.1 miles in one direction, draw a line in the sand, turn around, go back to the middle, then from my bag again, 0.1. So I'd have 0.1 miles on either side. So think like a 0.2 mile track. And I'm doing sprints. 10 by, what's that? 0.1 miles, so 10 by 160 meters. So go out, boom! Fastest paces you can sustain through at the 160, and then right into slow jog, turn around, boom. Do that 10 times. And then mile warm up, mile cool down. So again, hitting that 4 miles. 4 miles is like the standard run because that's the lap of the backyard ultra that I run. So I just have to know what running 4 miles feels like. Like, my body just has to memorize. It's got to be able to do 4 miles in its sleep. Like literally, I will have to run a whole lap while I'm sleeping, like, to do well in this race. So my body's got to know what 4 miles feels like. And then I would use, the next 3 days to do my strength training, do my isometric work, do some jump rope, do some stretching, do some body weight calisthenics, and then I'd replay that 4 day in a row strategy. And for me, running 4 days in a row is crazy. Like up until last year, I never ran back-to-back days. That was part of my whole training philosophy. Don't run back-to-back days. So running 4 days in a row was perfect. It was perfect to train me up. I wasn't taking down a lot of miles. I think my average was like 28 miles if you do the math. 2 4-mile runs, a 7-mile run, and a 13-mile run. It's 28 miles a week. Like, I know that sounds like a lot, but if you're a distance runner, that's like comically low. That's like a comically low weekly average if you consider yourself a distance runner, right? It's kind of like entry starts at 30 miles. I just never believed you need to be running that many miles personally, right? So that's kind of how training works. Like, you have to adapt yourself to the competition, and you have to try to figure out what the demands are of the competition, like exactly what the race is asking me to do. It's like, yeah, you need to be able to go 26.2 miles, but like, what's the specifics of the race? It's like, you've got to be able to know what it feels like to have effectively zero energy and to be able to keep going, And you have to be able to ignore fatigue. You have to be able to ignore tired legs. You got to be able to ignore a whole bunch of things in order to, make this thing happen. So that was a little bit of training. We're not doing too bad here, I think, in terms of this episode. Let's keep it rocking. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it reeling. Rocking and a rolling. Rocking and a reeling, Barbara Ann. Barbara Ann. All right, no more musical intermissions. Get to the race, man. Okay. It's not even a race. That's the cool part about this. It's not even a race. You just decide one day, like, okay, this is the day that we're going to do it. And I had Ironman Chattanooga coming up where I knew I'd be traveling. I knew it was going to be difficult for me to say, like, go get my long run in on the weekend. Don't want to do this in the summer. Like, you do this on a hot day, you're in big trouble, guy. You're in big trouble. But it had to fit for like my schedule, for my wife's schedule, for my kid's schedule. And it just so happened like the day that I selected was a Monday. My wife was not around, so I was basically solo dad. In the past, I'd gotten my wife to do the mornings, and I would go out to the trails at like 6:30 in the morning to get this thing started early so that I wouldn't have to deal with like the sun and the rising temperatures. Didn't have that. So this was real, just like, okay, like you're in charge of the kids. You got morning shift, right? And I basically was going to say like, get home after the morning shift, have some coffee, and then get out, get your last bit of water in, and then go out and do it. So something like 9:30 start, 10 o'clock start. But I got to go pick my kids up by like 4 o'clock. So my whole day is running now. My whole day is like running and recovering and then going to get my kids and then being dad, because I was then solo dad for the next 3 days. But that was just the best Monday. That was just the best day for me to do it in terms of when I felt I was prepared. I had trained up enough, but also the opportunity hit. So I cleared sort of like my Monday schedule for the 12th. And that was that. I got up. I didn't even tell anybody I was doing it this day. Not true. I told one person that I was doing this, and I told one person when I was doing it. That was Mike Donatelli, because I wanted him to run it with me. It just didn't work out with his schedule, but an elephant never forgets. And, I messaged him that I was going to be doing it, and off we went. I dropped my kids off. I came back. I made, my final coffee before I went out. And I think I left my house just before 10 o'clock. And I'd done the math on pacing. I'm figuring this is also part of doing all this varied running, is like I kind of know what my pacing should be like in the trails. I know what my pacing should be like on the roads. So I should be able to like average in between to get a good sense of how long I'm going to be out there and what are my time constraints, and just getting into it. So one more thing to note with this, even though it's not a race, I don't ever run with headphones. I don't run with music or a podcast. Like, I'm not interested in getting distracted. The only time I'm interested in something like that is if I'm on a treadmill and I want to feel human as opposed to feeling like a robot or like a mouse or something on a wheel. But if I'm outside running, there's no chance I got headphones in. It's like, number one, I just want to be able to hear things that are around me. If I'm in the forest, I want to hear the silence of the forest. But if I'm running the roads, I need to hear cars. I need to hear bikes. I need to be totally aware of my surroundings. So this is also raw dogged in the sense like there's no water, there's no food, there's no fuel, there's no distractions. I'm fully present in the entire moment. I'm fully present throughout the entire effort. So I kick off. And in my mind, in that morning, I'm still not exactly sure like what the route is. I'm like, I kind of know the loops. I know the relative distances, but I kind of need to do this on the fly. I need to do it on the run in terms of hitting the 26.2 right away. The forest trails that are to the west of me, every time I've gone in there, I've gotten lost. Like, I just get lost. I get off the trail. I have to turn around and figure out like where the heck I am. I got to spend like an extra 5 minutes brushing my legs off from ticks because the ticks are everywhere in these woods. And if you make a wrong turn, you're literally just right in their home. So, the last time I went on this trail or on that trail, I got so lost. And this is when I did like my 15 miler. I think it was in April. Where, I did a loop of one trail and then I came back and I ran west and I did a loop of this trail and I got totally lost. I got lost for 25 minutes. I had no idea where I was. I ended up having to come out of the woods onto the opposite side of the highway and then I had to run all the way around the woods just to get back to like the spot where, I would have entered or exited. And my initial thought was, I'm going to finish in this forest, but that morning, it's like, there's no chance I'm doing this because I'm going to get lost. It's going to be something like mile 22. I'm going to be hurting. My brain is going to be like melting out of my ears. And if I get lost in that state and I'm like 3 miles away from my house, like this is a bad deal. That's a bad deal. So I made the decision to start the run going west. So I move out of my house. I run 2 miles to get into this forest. I get on the trail and I decide, all right, I kind of want 5 miles on this trail because I know I'm going to be doing sort of one loop and then turn around and do that loop in reverse when I get to the other trail. And that's going to be about 8 miles and I want at least 13 miles on the trails. So I need about 5 miles. So I run out, I do the way that this trail goes, it's kind of like an out and then you hit a little bit of a lollipop loop and then you come back. So what I did is I just ran the lollipop loop one way, then I turned around and I ran it the other way. And then I came back. I did not get lost. It was incredible. Beautiful first leg of the course. That's like the first leg. And I just felt great. It was a hot day around 10 o'clock, but there's this beautiful cold breeze that's always blowing. So it's sunny. It's probably like 70 degrees or so, but there's this cool breeze that when it hits you, it feels a lot more like 60. So it's a really nice day. And like, I'm just feeling great. I feel like my feet are moving well. I feel like I'm totally in control and composed. And I'm feeling good. So I make my way back down the sidewalk. And now I'm about to cross big old I-94, right? The way that I want this run to go is I want to get back into my neighborhood for the timing of maximal potential danger. So I want mile 24. I want miles like 23, 24, 25, and 26 to be as close to my house as possible so that if I need to pull the plug, if something starts going bad in terms of like my physical state, my mental state, or my emotional state, I can get home. But I also, just shows you how spur of the moment a lot of this stuff is. I also never take my phone with me when I run, ever. Like, that's one of the reasons I love to go running, so I can leave my phone and not be touched by anybody. But I started thinking, gosh, like, what if you're mile 19 and you're down by the lake and all of a sudden, like, you need to quit, like, because something has happened. What are you going to do? So, like, I resolved myself to carrying my phone that I could call an Uber, right? And in the worst case scenario, like maybe I need to actually call an ambulance and I need to go. So I also brought my driver's license, my Illinois driver's license, my health insurance card. These are things I don't even think about on a normal day, but I'm trying to be responsible as I can running a marathon and not drinking water or eating food while doing the marathon. Gosh, I sound like an absolute psychopath. Good. Remember, it's the Pirate King. It's the Pirate King of the Suburbs Marathon. You got to be a little bit to be a pirate. And I want to be a pirate, right? So like planning the route and getting the logistics right is top of mind for me. Like absolute top of mind the entire time I'm doing this up until like I actually start going. I literally was out my door and I had to come back in and be like, oh, it would be probably a smart idea to carry my phone. And I went right back. So the first leg, right, it's this west into this forest loop. I come back, cross like my, the traffic lights to get to my intersection, back to my house, to my subdivision. And where are we at? We're like 9 miles. I got about a mile and a bit to run before I can then enter into the next trail, which is running around Nike Island right in the middle of the Skokie Lagoon. So I got to cross over I-94, and I am about, 10 miles in when I turn off and I go down to go hit Nike Island. So in my mind, I'm already doing the calculation. Like, all right, so it's going to be 8 miles in. The run down to the lake afterwards takes approximately this many miles, right? So I don't even really know the route. I don't know the final mileage, but I'm closing in on it. And this is one of the things I'm thinking about to just pass the time of the run. I'm just thinking, how many miles have I done? What's the time? How many more do I got to find? Where am I going to find them? Where am I going to end up? And I'm just thinking about all things. Like when you're out there for 4 hours and you're by yourself, this is perfect meditation time. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to go in between sort of like trail and road, because in the road, it's straight ahead. On the trails, it's all around. So I'm getting different experiences. I am not like being overwhelmed by any one style of running or any one kind of terrain. I will tell you that the mud on Nike Island was not fun to go through twice. There's one part that's like super duper icky and muddy, but hey, we got it done. We went through there. And I am just overwhelmed with like appreciation and gratitude and running through these like beautiful little forest paths in the middle of the day while I can hear people zooming by on the I-94. That's the Pirate King right there. Like I'm choosing to do this wild, crazy, imaginative, daring thing while other people are literally doing the same old, boring, mundane commute in on the highway, sitting in gridlock traffic, commute out, sitting in gridlock traffic, not enjoying their lives, not living life to anything close to like the potential that you have in this life. And I'm just like overwhelmed with gratitude and with peace, with purpose, and just resolve like that, I'm taking the right steps right now in this moment. So that like 8 mile stretch on Nike Island, it seems long, like it's very long, but it's where a lot of the important things came to me during the race in terms of appreciation, self-knowledge and discovery, a little bit of atonement, right? A little bit of integration. Like there's a full hero's journey that goes on there. And I come out of the forest. We're at something like mile 18 and the end's in sight. I'm thinking all I got to do now is run down to the beach, run back to my subdivision, and eke out a mile when I get there. My legs are sore. Like I've gone through a couple of waves of, that left quad's a bit tight, but it loosened back up. And then, the left calf. My left leg is a little tight always because of brutal soccer injuries I sustained in the final 2 years of my soccer playing career. But nothing is out of the ordinary in terms of just a hard effort, a long effort, and an intentional effort. And I start to make my way through these suburbs. I start to make my way through the big houses. And that idea of the Pirate King, I'm gaining strength. I'm wearing my black tribal running shirt. It's got the axe and the chief. I'm just feeling like I'm carving a legacy. Like I'm carving out exactly the space that I need to survive and thrive in this environment as I continue to run at a solid clip. Like I'm not pushing pace, but I'm not slow. Like, I don't want this thing to go on any longer than it has to. Like, when I'm on the road and when I'm in the trails, I'm trying to calculate myself somewhere towards like a 4 hour effort for the marathon. Like, that to me is well within what I can do. I can run an 8-minute mile and have it be like a low zone 2 effort for me. So like, I'm capable of running fast and I'm capable of pushing pace, but you've got to manage the fact that you're not able to put any energy in over the duration of the effort. So I figured if I could just do an 8-minute mile average, boy, wouldn't that be something? And if it's a little more, okay, but can we get under this? Can we get under this 4 hours? Closer to 9 minutes once you get on the trails. Once you get the mud, all those types of things, right? When I say low zone 2 for 8-minute mile, that's on the roads. That's not on the trails. Like, trails and roads, they're just different, and the timing doesn't work on both of them. So I'm running a solid pace. Like, I don't have to go back onto the mud. I don't got to go back into the forest. Everything is basically just like keep your legs moving forward and keep them going at a solid clip. And I'm running. Everything is going well. Like, it's kind of shocking how well things are going. Like, I'm not hitting any of the walls that I expected I'd be hitting. Mile 15, mile 18, get to the water. The water is something like mile 21, right? I see a guy down there. I don't take I dip my hat a little bit into the lake water. So I don't drench it. I put a little bit in there and get a tiny little bit of cool water on the back of my head. And there's a guy down with his dog. He says, "You got the right idea." And I said, "Oh boy, you only wish." I only wish I had the right idea, because what I'd love to do is jump right in and then just let the water kind of give me life again, but I couldn't. And this is like, when you get down to the beach, it's this pretty steep hill, and then there's a staircase. So it's a pretty solid little hill. And I was worried about having to go back up it, because now we're at mile 21 and we're at a point now where I haven't had water or food in over 3 hours and I'm still running, right? So the body is at its potential. It's at its limit. Like, when I look back on my running watch here, and I notice they have this stat that's called like your stamina, like whatever. These things aren't really accurate, but they're interesting, right? And I look at my stamina, and it's right around this time, just after 3 hours, that according to my watch, I've got 0. I'm literally at 0. I'm on the bottom. I am x-axis. I'm with it. We're at the bottom, and I'm like, I got 5 more miles to go. I got like another hour or so. Might have been a little before that. But I'm able to go another hour on 0%, which is pretty remarkable when you think about it. So anyways, I turn away from the water. I get back up the hill. I do a little bit of a power hike, and then I start to run back. And again, I am shocked by how good I feel. Like, my pace, it's strong. My form is good. My will inside of my brain, it's on fire. And I just determine, all right, like sub 4, here it is. What do I got to do to get it? Do I got to run 8:30s? Do I got to run 8:15s the rest of the way back? Like, let's get it. And I just want those final miles to be anything. I wanted to be opposite to what I felt on the other 2 attempts, where I was literally forced into walking. Like, I couldn't run. I didn't want that. And here I am, mile 22. Mile 23, I'm right back on the main road. I'm on the main road. I'm on the home stretch, and I'm cruising. Like, I'm feeling bad. Like, it's hard, like, to push the pace, but it's not anything I'm not used to. It's nowhere close to the type of death I felt the other 2 times. And there's this very cool moment where there's an elderly gentleman. He's on his bike, and I am literally running faster than he is on his bike. Now he's literally like meandering, and he's saying hi to the neighbors and waving to people on the, in their cars on the street, like he knows. But I still, like, I'm on the sidewalk. And he's on the sidewalk. I didn't get off the sidewalk. I got to run on the road to get around this guy. That's how well I'm cooking. Like, that I feel confident enough to pass a dude on a bike at mile 23. And he just slowly glides past me and he looks over. He says, "You look good." He's like, "You look strong." And I'm just thinking, oh, you really knew what I wanted to hear. You really knew that I wanted a strong running form, right? And I say, "Thanks, I appreciate it." He was like, "Thank you, that means a lot." He's like, how many miles in? And I turned to him, I said, 23. I said, 23 miles in. He's like, "What?" It's like, bro, you don't even know. Yeah, 23 miles in, and I ain't eaten since yesterday. 23 miles in, and the last sip of water I had was 3 hours and 40 minutes ago. I didn't say that, but I just said thanks. And I took that to be like the biggest show that I knew exactly what I was doing. Here we are, less than 3 miles to go, and I am strong. I got a stranger commenting on how strong my form is. I'm like, this thing is mine. Sewed up. So I'm running back, and this is where the mind starts to like take over because, all right, mile 23 is good, but mile 24, oh my gosh, it's starting to like, it's like a train that has to stop suddenly. It's like, okay, well the front car stops. So what happens to the other cars? Bang, 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 bang. There's like a cascade, and it happens way too quick. Now, I've gone to the bathroom like a bunch of times, but I haven't gone pee in probably like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And I'm not interested in having to do that because now I'm starting to remember what it felt like. It's like going pee in this stage where you're really dehydrated. It takes a lot of like mental energy to try to get rid of liquid when you know like, yeah, I don't have much and I don't foresee any coming in for a while. And it also just feels like really like you feel like somebody is kind of grabbing your organs on the inside and doing this, like squeezing it and trying to wring. It's like they're wringing a towel, like trying to dry off the towel. But it's like, shit, that's my kidney, bro. Like, man, that's my stomach. Like, ugh! And this feeling is the thing that has gotten me the last 2 times. And so I have an idea in my mind. I'm like, okay, there's this out and back trail that's right close to your house. When you get there, just get on the out and back trail and just go until you can't anymore. And I get on the out and back trail, and all of a sudden my mind's just like, no, you got to get to the house. It's like going half a mile out in the wrong direction. No, that's not good right now. Like, you got to be close to your house. So finish this last whatever mile by running around your neighborhood. Notice how the mind's already taking me into a place where it's acceptable to stop exerting all the effort. Right? The mind is very good at doing this, This is why route planning was so important to me, because I knew the second that you get into those mile like plus like after mile 20 and you're in this state, you're not making the wisest decisions that are going to allow you to stay true to what you want the challenge to be. You're going to start quitting. You're going to start making shortcuts. Like, I'm going to be calling an Uber from the parking lot when it's mile 21 because I'm not going into the forest, or I'm not bothering to run out, or like this is just what happens. So right away, I already start to see, like, after mile 24 and pushing, the brain is like, no. Like, you're going to end this. You're going to end this thing quick, right? So I don't do the out and back. I decide to turn into my subdivision. I'm like, sure, I can find 1.5 miles running around my subdivision. It's not a problem, but I really got to go pee. So I jump off into the woods, and I go pee, and it's just like this horrible, like, draining feeling. I'm immediately catapulted back into the forest and what it felt like to basically feel like you were dying. And right then and there, it's just like, it's over. It was mile 24.6 or something. And all I really have to do is just trot. I can run out at a 10-minute mile and I can get sub 4 marathon and I can have all this, but I don't care anymore. Like, I just don't care. I want it over. Like, the mind has gotten to the point where it doesn't give a crap anymore. Like, it's like, you just get to the 26.2 and you end this right away. I don't care if you're running. I don't care if you're walking. I don't care if you're crawling. Like this has to be finished. And I couldn't motivate myself to keep running. I just couldn't. I started going, I did a loop around like this road and that. And I'm like, this is Every single 0.1 mile is excruciating. It feels like it's an hour long to just get these 0.1 miles down. And I'm like, I can't motivate myself to run. There's no inspiration here. I didn't give myself like the no excuse. I gave myself the exit ramp. And I just felt so drained and I felt so exhausted that it was something like 25.6. I was running and I just looked down at the watch and I said, that's enough. That's enough. And I pulled into a walk and I walked the final, 0.5 miles basically, like the final half mile. It's the last kilometer, guys. Like running a kilometer is so simple. I can run a kilometer in 6 minutes, like without breaking a sweat. I couldn't muster up enough energy to even think about what running a mile looked like anymore, or running kilometer, or running half a mile, or whatever the heck it was. I was just resigned to walking. So I pulled up with 0.5 miles to go, and I walked out the final half mile, and I was able to stop my watch when it went over 26.2 at just over 4 hours and 6 minutes. Which means, again, if I had just continued to run or jog or trot, I would have come in right under that 4 hour mark, and man, wouldn't that have been pretty cool? A sub-4 marathon without water or food. But that's okay. Had I not had to rally myself in an hour, which I did, to go drive to my kids' school and pick them up and take care of them, because there was not another adult around, do I run through the line? Yes. But that's logistical, right? That's me having to have everything else in order and in line where I can effectively take myself past the breaking line and have somebody else pick up the pieces for me, which, number one, I don't really want to do. Like I don't want my wife and my kids to feel as if these efforts takes away from my ability to provide for them and to fulfill my obligations and roles. Like, I don't need the glory of having to run the damn thing so that like they can look after the broken wreckage that is me. Like, that's worse. That's way worse. So I pulling up and then being able to like summon the energy to go and pick them up. And let me tell you, it was really hard. It was not easy. I got in to my house, right? What do you want? Like, the people do races in order to feel like this amazing congratulations of getting past the finish line, have people cheering for them. You got a medal, you can go show off. I'm like, what do I have? Like, I have relief. I have text messages to a bunch of people who I know will resonate with what I've just done, but I don't even have enough energy to like save the Strava and to post it up on social media. I'm destroyed. I'm literally sitting at the breakfast bar upstairs and I'm just like this. I'm like, my head is in my hands and I'm just thinking, oh, I need to drink water, but I don't want to drink water. I was smart enough to prepare a bottle of Tailwind, the liquid fuel, non-flavored liquid fuel, in the fridge. So I just went, I knew I needed to drink that. So I just got in, it was cold. I drank that, but I didn't want to eat food. I didn't want to drink. I just wanted to sort of sit and allow energy to slowly get into my body. Like, I started to put calories in. I started to eat things like fruit, sourdough bread. I was able to get a bowl of yogurt in to get some protein and some fat. But I had to sort of like just turn around and go get my kids, and I could barely do anything. Like, usually when I go pick up the kids, I'm high energy. I'm like, let's go to a playground, let's go to a park. I'm going to come home. I'm going to cook a fresh dinner. Like, it's all good. The only thing I could manage to do was be like, I need you guys to get in the car and I'm going to take you to Shake Shack because I need about 10,000 calories right now and I can't do anything. They were happy. You know, they got, my son got a hot dog. They got a milkshake. You know, they got to split a milkshake. They loved it. They thought it was great. They're like, can we go to Shake Shack tomorrow? Can we go to Shake Shack? And I said, this is kind of a special occasion where daddy is dead. So we get to go do something fun like that together. Right. But ultimately, like, I don't give a crap about 6 minutes or 7 minutes on time on a watch. Like, I was able to do the thing that I set out to do. I was able to conquer the distance. I was able to run effectively right until the end. And, you know, if a couple other things are in place, I'm running. Heck, if there's another person with me, I'm running that out. Like, I did this whole thing on my own, guys. I did the whole thing solo. 26.2 miles by myself. No headphones, no external source of motivation. Like, me, just me pushing myself the whole time in my neighborhood. So if there's any like outside influence, like I'm blasting through that line. If it's something like my kids are waiting for me on the other side and they're waiting to like help me, not waiting to be like picked up by me, I'm running through it. It's inside my mind, like I don't have any doubts about what my capabilities are. And that's why I wanted to do the thing in the first place. I didn't want doubts on what my capabilities were. I wanted to test myself in an arena of my choosing. And I wanted to hold myself accountable to that standard. Like, I don't care. I don't care. It's an informal race for me, by me. Determined by me. My standard. Okay? And having that guy tell me at 23, dude, you look good. And I'm running. That's amazing. Remember back to my first attempt, mile 22 took me 45 minutes to crawl effectively. I spent most of it trying to throw up in the woods, and I had nothing in my system. I was dry heaving for 20 minutes in a row. It was fantastic, guys. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. So I feel totally accomplished. I love the fact I was able to take down this challenge. I love the fact I was able to create it basically out of nothing, out of thin air, with my own imagination. I love that it was mapped directly onto overall themes that I wanted to guide moving to a new place in a new country in an environment that I was not enthusiastic about living in, right? I am of the firm belief that what gets people like hooked on exercise is the conquering feeling. Yeah, it's like conquering the distance or conquering the weight, but it's really conquering of self. You know, Aristotle tells us that the hardest victory of all to attain is the victory over self. And when you go to the gym and when you lift heavy or you run fast, that's what you're conquering. You're conquering the version of you that wants to quit. You're conquering the version of you that wants to settle or make an excuse or not go as hard or not freaking care or not dream big, right? Or not going hard. So you get addicted to the conquering. And that's what I got addicted to. That's what I am addicted to. And that's why I wanted this challenge, because I wanted to conquer. I wanted to conquer the suburbs. If I got to live here, I'm not living based on the rules that are there. I'm imposing my bloody own pirate rules into this environment. And doing the Pirate King of the Suburbs Marathon was my proclamation that I'm here and I own this place. My flag is everywhere. And to me, that's way cooler than a race medal that goes around your neck. I have no desire to run a road marathon anytime soon. But that one, I had a big desire to get that one done. A half trail, a half road marathon. My style, my front door, my forest, my lake, my suburban streets. Mine. And not because I do it to hold it over other people. Nobody knew what I was doing. Nobody cares what I'm doing, number one. I just wanted to do it for myself. I just wanted to do it for myself. And so I'm going to end this with a call to action for everybody listening, however many people there are. And I appreciate everybody who's still listening. You don't need the race in order to race out something from yourself. You don't need the race in order to go for something daring, big, bold, courageous. I want you to take from this story of mine the courage to dream. Like, really dream. What's something so wild that other people would never even believe a person would want to go for it, let alone actively train for it, and then, lo and behold, go execute and conquer the challenge? I want you to be confident in being that pirate king. I want you to be confident in doing something so wild for yourself that other people look at you trying to figure out what makes you tick. What makes a person want to do something like that? How do they even go about doing it? Where does the idea come from? Where's the courage in their conviction? Where's their determination? Where's their discipline coming from? I want to get me a little bit of that. And I don't need anybody to follow me or copy what I want to do. That's not the point. The point is to look at the example of somebody doing it their own way and now go figure out how to do it your way. Do your way. Do your own way. So dream big. Imagine. Get that imagination on fire. Create. You think like I just was scrolling the internet and say, hey, there's this bunch of people that are doing this. I should do it too. I didn't copy anybody. I was inspired by people doing big things that made me want to do something big, but I didn't decide to do something I saw other people doing. I imagined something that fit for my fitness level, my personal reasons for exercising, a challenge that was suited directly for where I was at, and that forced me to get something I didn't have, or took me to a place where I wanted to go, where hopefully I would be able to gain something that I didn't have. And the whole idea of the fasted trail marathon is I'm inspired by the people running the 100-mile ultras and the 200-mile ultras. But what if instead of suffering for 23 hours or 30 hours, if I could just expedite the whole process and get to that same level of suffering, within 3.5 hours? And that way I could figure out, okay, now that you're here, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to move through this type of adversity? How are you going to respond to this type of physical pain, to this excruciating kind of physical pain? Where are you going to find the energy when your watch says, hey, bud, you ain't had any energy for the last 30 minutes. You think you're going to keep going? My answer is, I'll show you who can keep going. So dream, imagine, and then finally, go hard and then care about what you do. Go hard. When I'm training to take this thing down, all I'm thinking about is you got to go hard. You got to try. You have to really care about what you're doing, because that's what's going to allow you to succeed. That's going to allow you to overcome the adversity. It's going to allow you to triumph in this challenge when other people would be taken in or down by that challenge. So dream. Imagine. Create. Then go hard. Care and execute as if your life depends on it. Because let's be frank, when it comes to the meaning of your life, it absolutely does. It absolutely does rely on your ability to activate the open heart, to find the courage to push it on out there and face the harsh truth that comes back at you. And so often we rely on these made for everybody challenges, and that can work. Believe me, I saw this type of thing happen within people at the 70.3 or at an ultra marathon or at a full Ironman or a regular marathon or a half marathon. Doesn't matter. I've seen it. So it's not to say that these don't work, but there is a level of meaning that is one notch above when you're the person who not only performs the song, but writes the song. And when you write that song from your heart and then you play it, man, there is no greater amount of satisfaction that comes from that. I'm somebody who wrote songs and played the songs that I wrote in front of people, and also played songs that other people wrote in front of people. Which one do you think is the one that lights your soul on fire? Is it playing the covers, or is it playing the OGs, the ones that you wrote? Yeah. The ones that you wrote yourself. Ugh. So that's what I'm talking about. Why can't we do the same thing in fitness? Why can't we dream big? Why can't we create? Why can't we imagine? Why can't we do something so outlandish that people think you're nuts, and then when you go and you do the thing you said you were going to do, they still think you're nuts, because what you've just done doesn't fit into any conception or box or standard that they want to try and fit you in. You're your own person. You've done your own thing. And with that, the Pirate King of the Suburbs signs off, and I hope you enjoyed this tall tale about one of his greatest adventures. The fasted, no water, no food, half trail, half road marathon to conquer the suburbs. Peace and love. We'll talk to you in the next one.